There's a great quote. I learned it from Andy Elliott, but he learned it from, oh, now I can't remember. I could look it up. But it was a study that shows that most individuals only reach 30% of their true potential on their time here on Earth.
Mm, that's powerful. And it's a good
Because
realization. Yeah.
everything past that is difficult.
Oh,
Difficulty is a sign of progression.
yeah.
And it's waking up that next morning and saying, I got to lace up my shoes. I got to step on that trail and I got to climb this mountain. It
Hmm.
is difficult. But as soon as you take that step to say, I'm going to progress this thing today,
Hmm.
you find joy. You find optimism. You start to progress every day in your life and you break through and you improve every single day. And that's where true joy
Tyler,
and happiness comes from.
most professionals think that they are high performers and that they have reached a ceiling. Wait until you hear from Tyler. He will show you how to move from just a high performer to a top performer. Tyler, before we start, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
Yes. Felix, thank you so much for having me on the show. My name is Tyler Jensen. I am a certified insurance counselor, certified personal risk manager. That's been my background for years, was in the insurance space. And I am the founder of the Top Performance Group, where we help service-based professionals create top performing sales cultures. And throughout my time doing this, I've been featured on the cover of Insurance Business Magazine, KSL 5's industry leader in the state of Utah for business coaching, and I've helped hundreds of service-based professionals just redefine their culture and live a better life, which is what I love doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tyler. That's a great background, and I'm sure a lot of our audience are going to benefit from this. There's going to be clear, actionable insights that you will provide as the expert in becoming a top performer. You know what I just noticed? Behind you, I see my name. Thank you very much.
You betcha. That right there, it makes people smile, Felix, and I
Yeah,
love that aspect. That right
yeah,
there
yeah,
is a huge essence of our
yeah,
brand,
yeah,
is
yeah.
those
I like
moments
I
that
like it.
made
I
you
like
smile right there.
You see, you just made me smile, and I did not notice it until 2 minutes into this conversation. Yeah, Tyler. So I think you have a very great background. And I think this next question I'm going to ask you, a lot of people are going to benefit from. And not many people know about this. And today you're going to reveal something for them. Okay? So, Tyler, most professionals have a personal brand, but it's not clear what problem exactly they solve with their personal brand. So, how do you define your personal brand and what problem does it solve? Tell me.
Great question, Felix. And this is one that I see with almost every client I bring on, is they struggle identifying their uniqueness. And when it comes to a brand, defining mine in one word would be optimism. Simple as that. Now, a lot of you just thought of, oh, look how positive he is. Look how happy he is. And the thing is, that is not optimism. That's what it's evolved to. But when
Mm,
you actually go and you study what's called etymology, which is the origin of words and their meaning, optimism was the Latin word for best. So it didn't mean positive, it didn't mean happy. That evolved over time from a derivative of a positive attitude, right? The best attitude got translated into that positivity. So when I look at everything I do, I ask the question, are we doing what's best? Are we doing what's best for our clients? Are we doing what's best for our team? Are we providing the best product? Are we providing the best experiences? And when we say our brand is optimism, our clients know that they're going to receive the best from us in the capacities we have to offer. Because working with service-based professionals, the thing about them is there's 50 to 100 of you within usually a 10-mile radius. Right? When you think of service-based professionals, you think insurance agents, you think real estate agents, you think accountants, you think a coach, you think a dentist, right? You're providing a service, but you're building a relationship in a book of business. And the thing is, like I said, there's 50 other people doing the exact same thing as you. So how does somebody differentiate Felix from the other 50? Right? There's thousands of podcasts that you could be listening to, and yet you're listening to Felix. So how does he differentiate his uniqueness? That, in essence, is your brand. It's what people can connect with you and clearly tell other people, oh, you need that problem solved? Well, Felix is the best. Listen to his podcast because it's going to solve that problem. So when I look at the problem that we solve, Felix, part two of your question, is we solve complacency.
Mm.
Studying top performance, because that's the outcome I want people to have. I want you to have a top performing sales culture. But as you study what you want people to achieve, you'll usually find the opposite. You'll find what's they're running up against, what's keeping them from getting there. And as you can pinpoint those problems and concise them down into a singular aspect, that's where you now kind of start to break through all the other competitors because you can clearly identify what that problem is. And so for ours, Felix, we noticed as I was studying this is that individuals fall into what's called three complacency models. And it's three ways that we, in our human nature, fall into a complacent state when it comes to our business and our sales culture.
Yeah, Tyler, I think that's a great problem you're solving, complacency. And I know complacency, today somebody might feel complacent. Tomorrow they might feel complacent. And the next time they might feel the same. And all this time they're thinking that they are high performing until one day they reach a moment where they realize they need to catch up. So the high performer now wants to even perform even better to become a top performer. And it's very gradual. It can result into a lot of things. And I know your message for them is to optimistically achieve top performance each day. And that's your great message. So can you walk us through the how will somebody reach to that moment through your systems from feeling complacent to becoming a top performer? And you mentioned that you have a step-by-step approach that you can take. Can you tell us what those are in
Yes.
simple steps without going too deep, but for people to get value in this? I know a lot of people watching, they are high performers and they think that they have reached that ceiling and they want to go to the next level. So tell us, Tyler.
Wonderful. So let's go simple and then we can go deep if we want. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll walk you through what individuals do in about 3 minutes. Okay. The typical business-based professional,
Mm-hmm.
they are chaotic. They are so busy every single day. They have emails, they have phone calls, they have text messages, they get interrupted, they have a client come in. Essentially, they're putting out fires all day, right? Everything is chaotic and you just feel busy, you feel overwhelmed, and you're either going to tell people how busy you are. And the thing about that is when we run on chaos and our business runs on chaos, that is the first model of complacency. It's called complacently busy,
Mm.
where you're not putting priorities in place and doing those things that truly progress yourself and your business. You see
Yeah.
successes, you see failures, but at the end of the day, the business stayed the same. And the way we combat that is we always do what's best. Okay, so our first pillar of top performance is optimism.
Mm.
What is best? Best mindset, best outcomes, best systems, best processes. So then we go and we say, what is the best system we can put in place to combat this chaos?
Yeah.
So we start putting in systems. And so the business owner that starts putting in systems, they start to see consistent results. They start to see more successes. But then we get sucked into our second model where we still have failures. We still have setbacks. We still have trials. And when
Hmm.
those things happen, I'm sure we've experienced this. You get home from the end of your busy day and your wife asks you, Felix, how'd your day go? And the first thing that comes to your mind is all the negative things about the day. Everything that went wrong. Even though we
Yeah.
had incredible things that happened, it was
Yeah.
all of those bad things.
You know what came to my mind? Good. I was gonna say good, but then you're covering the first time, and then later on you can go deeper into what really happened. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. And that's how our human brain works. So when we have these failures and setbacks, we have what's called a negativity bias. We're pessimistic by nature. And so our human body, psychologically, a negative experience has 4 times the impact as one positive,
Hmm.
which means our subconscious brings it to our forefront more easily because it wants to keep us safe. So those experiences induces fear. And that fear leads us to be safe, which induces us to be complacent.
Hmm.
And so the next time you have to make a phone call, Felix, your brain says, oh, that person yelled at you on the phone. You probably shouldn't do that. It induces fear. Your body wants to be complacent. And so it goes through this cycle of our past experiences, those negative impacts come up quickly, induces fear, then we say, ooh, I don't want to do that.
Hmm.
Now that's our second model. It's our natural complacent state. And for businesses, you spend about 2 hours of your working day in that state of complacency. Now, the way we now overcome this is we induce our third model. We optimistically increase our power.
Hmm.
Now, power, when you look at its root words, it is application. You have power is something you apply. So as
Yeah.
you increase your knowledge, you take those experiences that don't work, you learn from them, it
Hmm.
becomes knowledge, it becomes potential power. And as you
Yeah.
apply that back into your systems to become better and improve in all different aspects, it now became wisdom.
Hmm.
Wisdom, by definition, is the correct use and application of knowledge. And so you just turned every failure into a success because you learned from it.
Hmm.
So now you're starting to see more successes throughout your day. And the fourth pillar is what's called focus. And focus on our scale is directly above fear. It's the exact opposite because there is no fear when the focus is clear. And you need daily focus in order to achieve top performance. You need to have purpose. You need
Hmm.
to understand your why. You need to understand your values. You need to
Yeah.
understand those importances.
Tyler, can
And
you repeat
that's
that? That was powerful. There's no fear when there. Can you repeat that
there. There
point?
is
Yeah.
no fear when the
Yeah.
focus is clear.
Powerful. Yeah.
And as you go through that process, you experience top performance. So look at those moments where you felt on a high.
Hmm.
You closed an account. You felt good. You had a great conversation with an individual. You were executing in those 4 pillars. You had
Yeah.
the best mindset. You were following a process that's worked and you're seeing success. You were executing in your power and your knowledge that you had. And you had focus on the desired outcome of what you wanted to achieve. And that's why individuals have experienced top performance on different occasions, in different moments, in different scenarios. But then we fall into the third model, and it's where we experiences those moments. and we get that feeling, we say, I'm good. I'm all right. I've made it.
Yeah.
And we fall into a complacent state.
Mm.
We become what's called the self-made complacent. And those
Mm.
are those three models.
Yeah. It rhymes with self-made billionaire. So, yeah, I think you walked us through different pillars. Just to quickly summarize, those are optimism, systems, power, and focus. And through that, through those steps, you're walking people through different models. And the first one is complacent chaos. To the last one, which is what you say, there is no fear when the focus is clear. Is what is the fourth, the last model that you mentioned? Complacent, self-made complacent, right? Is that what you mentioned?
Yep. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Complacently busy, natural complacent, and your self-made complacent.
Yeah, those are powerful steps if anybody can follow. I know, and you have zeroed in on complacency only. There's always other things that follow after what happens when you become complacent. And those things that you kind of described, those models will actually walk them through step-by-step approach to becoming a top performer. And I like the focus on complacency because also the problem I solve is invisibility. And invisibility is very gradual. People feel comfortable the first time, and then later on they feel complacent, which is what you're solving. You are diving deeper into this. And from complacent, they can either reach burnout or feel stuck to where they now feel like they need to take action, even up to a point where they don't know what action they take. So there is this natural decline that happens when somebody becomes complacent. And especially in sales, it's in sales there is measured performance. And you will know when you've reached this moment because all of a sudden your numbers are not adding up. And so they, at least in sales, they can catch it at some time, but even if they can catch it, the the impact of their complacent actions are now much greater. So it's important for people to be aware of these things and to avoid a complacent state. So yeah, Tyler, I think you've mentioned the pillar, the problem, and your uniqueness, which is optimism, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you're using your uniqueness. Like we talked about, how do you define your personal brand earlier? You're using your uniqueness, your unique way of being optimistic is what you just described to us. And that's how you're using it to help people solve a big problem, not only in sales, but in a lot of professional industry. Complacency. It applies, I think, across many industries, even in engineering, where my industry is. One thing I wanted to see is what how do you move people? I know you have the models. Uh, do you have an exercise that you give them to, or you give them to maybe even a framework you can describe? If was one of those a framework that you described also earlier?
It was, yeah.
Oh,
So we have a visual
okay,
framework of
okay,
where we move down throughout those. And even to just complete that framework, which we just mentioned, to overcome
yeah,
self-complacency is all about discovery. So you
mm,
create this cycle of daily discovery where you're increasing your power and you're always refining your systems, renegotiating your focus, and now you sit in this top cycle living your best life. So that's kind of that final
yeah,
touch on that
powerful.
framework.
Yeah, I think it's not one thing that you go uh, from optimism to focus and then you stop there. You have to follow a framework, and actually each of those pillars you have a framework for them, right?
Correct. So,
Yeah.
not to overwhelm individuals, but in each of those four pillars, we have minimum of five frameworks in
Mm,
each.
yeah.
Um, so we
Yeah.
kind of dive deep into that. Like I said, our focus is sales culture.
Mm,
So we focus on implementing those four pillars in the different aspects of your sales processes and your whole culture. So through your clients, through your employees, through the
yeah.
products you sell, we make sure all aspects of your culture are following the top performance framework.
Yeah. Agree. Powerful. I think, yeah, frameworks give a visual representation of what you're trying to teach them. Is there an exercise that you can give them to fully, maybe give me one or two of your best exercises in any of those pillars that if somebody listening now that is in sales as a sales professional and they want to improve their sales culture, what kind of exercise will you give one?
Let's go with one that everybody asks me.
Mm-hmm.
They say, Tyler, okay, so when a negative thing happens,
Yeah.
what do I do? All right. How do you truly make that switch to learning and discovery and seeing, the successes in that? That's hard to do if we're naturally going to be complacent, as you say. All right. So the way we help that, our process to help change the neuroscience of your subconscious brain is through a four-step process of taking the next step. So
Mm.
it's STEP is how you're going to remember what to do. Okay.
Yeah. Step.
So when a negative experience happens, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we'll say you didn't close a deal. Okay. First off, you stop the negative thinking pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Because your brain, the way it works, Felix, is it works like an old movie reel. Okay. I
Mm.
remember a time when we went to Disneyland with our
Yeah.
kids, and my daughter, she's a little artist like me. And there's this little, almost like a secret area of Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And not very many people go there, but it's their animation center. And it's in California Adventures. And you can actually go in there, and there's an area where you can draw out your own movie.
Mm.
And as you go, you can draw each of the little boxes, and they have those reels, and you can play a movie there that you just designed at Disneyland. So much fun. But that's exactly how our brain works, is that old movie reel where it's those little boxes and it's played through that cycle. And understanding that concept alone about your human brain, you realize that there is only ever one box showing at a time. Now, it may be spinning super fast.
Yeah.
There's only one box showing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And what those negative emotions do, like I said, they're four times more powerful. So your brain just sits there and it freezes on that frame.
Mm.
Okay. And like those old TV screens where, if you pause the DVD and went to go eat dinner and came back and your TV was burned with that image and you couldn't
Mm-hmm.
get rid of it. Kids
Yeah.
nowadays don't know what that was like, but it used to burn images into your screen. And that's how our negativity bias works, is it's burning those images into the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you can stop that pattern quickly, then it doesn't burn as much. That makes sense? It wants to burn and it wants to create those fear tendencies. So we first stop the negative thinking pattern and
Mm-hmm.
we talk out loud. Okay, so that next one is talk. By giving that frame lines in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
it can go on.
Yeah.
Okay. When we actually say things out loud, it's a process called labeling. And as you label those emotions, you label how that sales call made you feel. They're literally
Yeah.
saying, that sucked. Like, I feel so frustrated and close that deal.
Yeah.
By labeling that, you're actually diffusing your amygdala, which is the
Mm.
emotional response that is firing. Labeling it diffuses it. So as you talk it out loud, you're actually changing those subconscious states of how it's moving past. And
Yeah.
then you go into step three, which is evaluate. And now you pull what's called our 4-to-1 ratio into play.
Mm-hmm.
Because one negative is as powerful as four positives, we're going to feed it four positives in those next frames. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're going to
Yeah.
ask the question, what's best? What's the best outcome I can take from this? What's the best thing I can learn from this? What's the best way I can respond to this? What's the best course of action? We're viewing things optimistically. We can't change what happened.
Yeah.
We can take that response and say, what is best from this? And we're going to feed our brain four positive things. Hey, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
We can tell ourselves, hey, I'm still the best sales rep.
Yeah.
I'm still the best at what I do. Okay. Don't let your one negative experience define who you are. So remind yourself, say it out loud. I am the best sales rep. I am the best at serving my clients. I am the
Mm-hmm.
best at, talking about these coverages. And
Yeah.
as you start feeding yourself, you're evaluating those best course of action, you can then pursue, which is P. You pursue on the next best course of action. And that's where you change that pattern. And now you've turned those experiences into a success. And as you practice that next step, you can go through those processes within a matter of
Mm-hmm.
seconds. We could just take a pause, Felix, and I can go through those steps right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally in a matter of a few seconds. And you can change your psychological state.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes for bigger ones, you may need 5 minutes and be like, okay, I just need to step back for a second, go through my steps, you're back at it. You're moving out of those negative experiences, turning into a positive.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Tyler, you mentioned, I'll just give you a scenario. Somebody just have a very bad experience and you're telling them not to just take the bad experience and stop there. You're telling them to go through a step process. Do this next. And the first S is to picture like in a movie, like the way the movie works. And what was the name for that part? Like steps?
Stop.
Or
Yep. So
stop,
stop.
stop. Okay, so you stop.
Yep.
Yeah, you stop like because movies move in frames. You don't want to keep playing a negative feeling in your head. So you stop and then you evaluate. What was the third E for?
Stop. Talk. So
Stop,
yeah,
talk.
give it some lines in its
Yeah,
movie that it wants to play. Stop.
yeah,
Talk. Evaluate, and then pursue.
yeah. Stop, talk, evaluate, and then pursue. I think that's a great exercise anybody can go through. And I don't think it applies to only sales. It can be to anybody that doesn't want to ruin their day. If you let your day go by because you're avoiding to do this one exercise, I think, which is powerful. Some people, I think it's there's this lady, Caroline Wanga. She says that she has in one day, I forgot the number of times. Maybe she gives herself 6 failures. I forgot if it was 6 or 4, but let's go with 6 failures. She fails the first time, the day is still good. The second time, the day is still good. The third time, it's still good. Up to the sixth time, that's when she will need maybe to take action. She will think that now the day is going bad. But for you, even at the first time, you're walking people through this step process. Stop, talk, evaluate, and pursue. I think that's a powerful exercise for everyone to go by. One thing, you are from Utah, right?
Yeah.
You know, my wife planned a trip. I never go, I never do like, I'm not into like planning trips and go anywhere unless I'm really needed to be there. But my wife planned a trip for us to go to look at the national parks in Utah and all that. So we went to 5 different national parks. We flew there and then we drove miles and miles across Utah, and we went to the first national park and all I saw was rock at Zion Park. And then we went to the next one. I saw rocks and rocks and rocks. And the first time I was happy to see what I saw. But the second time I saw another rock, then I started questioning, is it all about rocks? And but people were climbing up to the top of the view and then they can see the entire town or the entire view. And the first view we climbed, it was good. We did that. And then we kept climbing to different views and climbing to different views. And I kept wondering because in some of the views, you walk and climb for many miles, probably up to an hour or 2 hours or even 3 hours. And then when you get there, when I got to the top, I felt the satisfaction was, it lasted for a moment. And I was thinking, what's next? And I know this is one of your focus areas using this imagery of climbing on top to the mountain summit. And you don't stop there. You become a performer, a top performer. You don't stop there. You do something else. Can you, I know I described it for you, and this is actually my true actual feeling when I got there, because I felt it almost like getting a big recognition. And then after that, it's just a recognition. Then you have this feeling and you have to go for the next thing. Can you describe for me this feeling I'm trying to create? I know you do it better in your models that you teach. Can you go, yeah, tell me about that, about the
Yeah,
mountain? Why, or is this what is going to be, maybe before I go too far, is this what is going to be your personal brand symbol? I can ask you that question now.
it is. So our personal
Okay, so
brand
let,
symbol is a mountain.
all right.
Our logo is a mountain, and it has our four color or
Yeah,
four pillars
yeah,
that make up that mountain peak. Uh, and I love the fact that you went to Zion's. Um, so I guess a little backstory behind this. As you mentioned, Utah has five national parks,
yeah.
and
Tyler, can I tell you one more thing about the Zion?
yes,
So
yes,
we went, and I think this will key into maybe what you're about to say. Zion, I'd never seen it before. It was so I learned a lot about in this trip. I learned a lot about just trying to experience something, and that was. And when we got to Zion, there's a crack. I don't know what you call it, but people go through this small crack, and you go
yeah,
through
the Narrows.
the narrows, and there's a sign that says go at your own risk, and then they have a picture of somebody standing at a very big rock and
Yep,
many feet down, and they tell you there is occasional um, flash floods, and when that happens, that entire rock can be covered. That was enough for me to say I'm not going through that door. I just want to tell you how uh, some things are risky, but if if you know you can make it, if you have a vision for it, you can go through. I know some people go through. I just wanted to add that small aspect of the experience.
yeah. No, it's not for the faint of heart. Some of these hikes that you get to experience on these trails, for sure. And I love that you went down to and visited all the parks. Because that's
Yeah,
honestly, Utah is famous, as people
yeah.
know, as the state with the most children. I know, threw you off there.
Hmm.
But because we have so
Is
many children, our national park said, hey, we got to keep up with their fertility rate, so we'll give them
is it
five
really
national parks.
it's known for the state of the most children?
It is, yes. Utah
So
is the state with the most children per household.
if I look at the bell curve for the population, I should see more younger population than the older age, basically.
In Utah, yep. So ours
Yeah,
is like 3.4 kids per household versus the national
I,
average is like two.
I will take a look at that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
yeah. And I love actually, my wife and I love going down to southern Utah to the national park
yeah,
because for me, Felix, it's literally an escape from the world and I can disappear. Let me see if I
yeah.
can share this screen so others can see it. For me, Felix, I can literally disappear.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yeah, that's powerful. I have some. I have a video of me. I have a video of me running up this and down. So maybe later on I might add it to this clip. Powerful.
That's
Yeah.
that's pretty great. I can disappear. I think my complexion and my red hair sell that photo the best.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I love the national parks. I love hiking. It's one of my great hobbies. And in Zion's actually, there's a wonderful hike called Angel's Landing.
Angel's
Now,
Landing. Yeah.
Angel's Landing, and it is absolutely gorgeous from the trailhead to the final. You
Yeah.
start down by the Virgin River, and the
Mm,
trail kind of winds. You kind of follow the path of the Virgin River, go up a few switchbacks as you're making your
yeah.
way up this canyon face, and it
Hmm.
goes into a canyon. You have sheer 1,000 foot walls on either side of you.
Yeah.
And as you round this corner, you come to a part, it's called Walter's Wiggles, which is a
Yeah.
series of 21 switchbacks. And
Hmm.
in a half mile, you scale 1,700 feet to
Yeah.
the top of this ridge. And so
Hmm.
after that time, your legs are just like burning. You're just like, holy flip. And then you get to the most difficult part of the hike. And it's the last half mile to the summit of Angel's Landing, which is a fin that comes out the canyon.
Hmm.
And as you go across this fin, there's actually a chain bolted to the rock. Because as
That you
you
have to
hike
hold.
this,
Yeah, you have to hold it, right?
there is a sheer
Yeah.
1,700 foot drop off on either side of you, if you can see that
Yeah.
image.
Yeah.
Straight down. So
Hmm.
this section of this half mile, this narrow spine that you're traversing, it ranks this hike as one of the most difficult in the United States. It has 17
Hmm.
confirmed deaths
And
from
you
people
and
falling.
you and you did it.
And I did it, yes, even
Yes.
though I do not like heights.
A top
Um,
performer.
and as you get to the top,
Yeah.
there's a reason it's called Angel's Landing. It's because of this angelic view that you have. You go on this fin that then overlooks Zion's Canyon.
Hmm.
And you see the beautiful sky, you see the canyon, the river flowing through it, and just the
Yeah.
beautiful colors, and it's outstanding. And that, in essence, this hike illustrates top performance because the
Mm.
word top performance,
Mm.
top comes from an endogrammatic word, which means topa, which
Hmm.
means summit.
Mm.
And performer is an old French word, parvenir, which means to do. So in
Hmm.
its original translation, it was to do the work to summit.
Hmm.
So in its original content, back years and years, thousands of years ago, it was somebody that summited a mountain.
Hmm.
That is a top performer. You have to endure the difficulties of the trail in order to experience the best view at the top. And so as you traverse this, right, you experience that, Felix, where you said, oh, we made it all the way to the top. And I had that feeling of like, oh, this is so cool.
I
You
have videos.
experience
I
top
have
performance.
videos. Yes, I have. At first, I was hesitating because we did this and we were sleeping in hotels are not, as you keep driving deeper and deeper, there's not many hotels. So we sleep in RVs, motels right by the road. You can hear them. So actually, some of the places we slept in it was an interesting experience. But when I was by the rocks, I climbed the rock and I jumped down. I ran up and I kept jumping. And so it was a great experience.
Yeah. You experience that because
Yeah.
the hike is, in essence, the four pillars. You're
Yeah.
experiencing the best view possible. It's optimism, right? You have that mindset of, I'm going to do something that's going to enlighten me, right? To something I'm going to have joy from. You're following a system, right? You're
Hmm.
following that
Can
trail
I,
to get
yeah,
there.
can I connect
Yeah.
one thing? Your last pillar is focus, and you talked about this angelic view at the top where you need the maximum possible focus. And if you don't focus, what happens? You can
You
fall
fall.
off. Yes. So I think that's a powerful connection to your last pillar. But go on.
It is, and you got it spot on.
Yeah.
The systems is that hike. You follow that trail, you hold on to that chain. Power comes from previous hikes, right? I would not recommend doing this hike as your first time hike,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to experience and
Yeah.
gain that knowledge of hiking skills. And
Mm-hmm.
then the focus negates fear, right?
Yeah.
Your
Mm-hmm.
focus to achieve the top negated the fear of falling.
Mm-hmm.
There's that powerful connection, as you said.
Yeah.
And the thing
So,
about that
mm-hmm.
is you experience top performance to the top. But the thing about that, Felix, is after my wife and I enjoyed that beautiful view,
Yeah.
we were so excited. We said, "What's next?"
What's
Right?
next?
What's next? Just the way you did. And
That was it. Yeah.
we were wanting to go. We were
Yeah.
talking about, oh, what another hike are we going to go on? What's our next adventure? Because we felt like we made it by going to the top. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were talking and we were heading back down the trail and we were talking about how beautiful it was and we were talking about how great it was. And then all of a sudden,
You fell. You almost fell. That's powerful. Yeah.
I fell.
Yeah.
My foot slipped and I fell.
Mm. How far down? Or just a bit?
I had a hold of the chain. I had a
Don't
hold of
let
the chain.
go. Don't let
Do
go.
not
Yeah.
let go of that chain. Okay.
Do you have
Now,
like harness vest at this time or
you
no?
do not. You do not.
Mm.
You
At your
just
own
have your
risk.
chain and your feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the probably the most it was at a switchback. So the most I
Mm-hmm.
probably would have fallen would have been to the next switchback.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
but the fact that I slipped on this hike was enough for me to realize that the journey was not to the top.
Mm.
The journey was the complete hike.
Mm-hmm. Go to the
The
top and
focus
back. Yeah.
was to get back down the mountain.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have to follow the same process going up and
Step.
going down.
Did you follow the step process at that time when you sleep?
Right?
Yeah.
Was not looking at my next step. That was for sure.
Stop, evaluate. No, yeah. Stop, talk, evaluate, pursue.
Pursue.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the realization
Yeah.
of the self-made complacents when they feel like they've made it, they lose their focus
Oh,
and they
that's
fall.
very, yeah. You climb to the top and then you made it, and then when you're about to go down, you forgot.
You
And
forgot
that's
that it's
when you
part of the
fell.
journey.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't
So
realize until you fall. Yeah.
you don't realize the part of summiting a mountain is going up and down. You don't
Mm-hmm.
sit at the top forever,
Yeah.
right? You don't pitch your tent up there at the top and just say, "Oh, I'm gonna stay at the top of Angel's Landing for the rest of my life. Bring me food, right? Bring me drink. Like I'll camp up here forever."
Mm-hmm.
The joy is in the journey,
Yeah.
going up, going down, and saying, "What's the next hike?" Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yeah.
top performer lives their life in that top loop where they're
Yeah.
optimistically performing every single day. They are the
Yeah.
ones that get out on the trail every single day and they say,
Mm-hmm.
which mountain are we going to climb today?
Yeah. Yeah. What's
How
next?
am I going
What's
to
the next
improve
challenge?
my culture? How am I
Yeah.
going to deepen my relationship with employees? How am I going
Mm-hmm.
to provide a better service for the clients? How am
Yeah.
I going to better myself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not the fact that you can't enjoy any of
Mm-hmm.
that, right? That's not what
Yeah.
I'm saying. But you need to find joy in the fact that we're here on this earth to live a life of abundance and a life of
Mm-hmm.
joy, right? God said men are that they might have joy,
Yeah.
but joy comes from service. Joy comes from self mastery. Joy comes from trying to achieve something that pushes us, that scales us, that is difficult and hard. Too many people face this wall where they feel success and they don't want to push past it. There's a great quote. I learned it from Andy Elliott, but he learned it from, oh, now I can't remember. I could look it up. But it was a study that shows that most individuals only reach 30% of their true potential on their time here on Earth.
Mm, that's powerful. And it's a good
Because
realization. Yeah.
everything past that is difficult.
Oh,
Difficulty is a sign of progression.
yeah.
And it's waking up that next morning and saying, I got to lace up my shoes, I got to step on that trail, and I got to climb this mountain. It
Hmm.
is difficult. But as soon as you take that step to say, I'm going to progress this thing today,
Hmm.
you find joy. You find optimism. You start to progress every day in your life and you break through and you improve every single day. And that's where true
Yeah.
joy and happiness comes from.
Yeah. I like the quote about most people in their lifetime achieve their top performance up to 30%, and they don't realize that they can push past that and even go after bigger things. And maybe they don't push through because of the struggles they have. And finding joy is a good answer for it. I forgot who this is, but I recently came across this. Somebody was hiking, was going for a hike in another country. I forgot also, but the biggest mountain. And they woke up in the morning and they started hiking. I'll find this out and give it to you because I think this is powerful for your teaching. But they kept hiking and hiking and hiking. And then when they got to the top of the view, this guy was looking at the next mountain and he wanted to go over there. And he kept asking the guide, hey, how can we get to that mountain? And then the guide looked at him and said, you have to learn how to appreciate the mountain you're standing on first before the next one. So sometimes we need to be top performers in the mountain that we are in the summit that we're in. I think you said you have to do the work to the summit. I think that was a powerful line you said earlier. And whatever that summit is, you have to outperform that before the next one. Because sometimes we start one, we don't finish, and we want to turn around to the next one. So I thought that was a powerful story. I recently came across it, and I will find out the details and share with you. I think it's a good way to appreciate when somebody is stranded. Is maybe first thing is to appreciate, to find out where they are. What mountain is that? And I think one thing that you mentioned, and I was waiting for you to say it before I say it, I think you said it, once you reach the summit, it's time to finish the loop and come back down and then find the next summit. And these summits pile up one after the other. And that's what I gathered from what your personal brand symbol is. So from you have optimism as your uniqueness, your personal brand, solving a problem of complacency. And through that process, you've come up with a visual representation of a journey that any sales professional can go through to become a top performer. And that is going a summit after summit. So so what I was going to ask you about the personal brand symbol is, and I think you answer it, but you can articulate it clearly so that the people watching can get the most out of it is, how do you define your personal brand symbol? Or what is your personal brand symbol? You said it's a mountain. And how do you use it every day? I think I know how you use it every day based on what you've told me, but can you articulate how this visual representation of your brand uh, is essential for you every day and how you live your life?
Yeah. You optimistically perform every day. And
Yeah.
that's the behavior because it is difficult climbing a mountain,
Hmm.
right? You actually, I mean, statistically speaking, you look at the percent of the population that's actually climbed to a peak, like actually climbed to like a height of a mountain over, 3,000 feet high, right? You can go to the highest peak in Kansas and you'd be up about 20 feet in the air. But climbing, right, an actual peak where you're scaling
Mm-hmm.
3,000 feet up to the top of that, it's estimated, there's no very good numbers on it, but it's estimated that only about 1% of the population's ever done that. And you look at that in a comparison and the amount of people that run a business, right? Only about 1% of businesses are successful. And it's because of that feeling of difficulty. Okay. If you can't learn to find and create joy summiting that mountain, it's going to be difficult waking up the next day and saying, I got to summit another mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your
Yeah.
body will stay in a sense of complacency. You're going to sit in the lawn chair and you're going to say, I'll just enjoy the view from base camp. I'll just enjoy the view of the summit from right here.
Yeah.
Right? That's easy. I'll sit in my lawn chair, I'll enjoy the fire, and I'll just enjoy the view. Right? But
Mm-hmm.
instead, as you get on the trail every day, you're elevating your base camp because
Yeah.
the experiences you gain, the joy you find, the joy you create elevates your base camp. You are never the same person when you return from that journey. You leave base camp, you endure the difficulties of that summit, you experiences the joys, you come back. That base camp is never the same because you
Mm-hmm.
are now elevated.
Yeah.
So when I look at a mountain, I say there is joy in every single step.
Yeah.
That
I
doesn't
agree.
come on the first hike. That
Mm-hmm.
comes after years of hiking and
Mm-hmm.
finding the joy behind it. I have a little rock up here,
Yeah.
but it's a little rock, and it's just a rock I found on the trail.
Yeah.
This was a time when I was hiking, but I found a turquoise rock and I found a red rock. And I found a rock for myself, and I brought those home to my kids. And how much joy filled their little souls
Yeah.
from dad bringing them a red rock, their favorite color, a turquoise rock, her favorite
Yeah.
color.
Yeah.
And it's when you can start making value out of little things on those
Yeah.
trails is where
Mm-hmm.
you start to change, right?
Yeah.
Finding joy in the little things of your business, finding joy in the
Yeah.
little things of a sales process, little
Yeah.
interactions with clients. You need to start seeing more successes throughout your day.
Yeah. I agree. Sometimes when we started finding small rocks in my son's pocket, I don't know why. Every once in a while we find tiny rocks, and he will also my daughter also they will pick small rocks and have them in their pockets. So, but they did not want to let it go. Something that we overlook all the time. Joy is everywhere, and we overlook it all the time. So it's interesting that yeah, when you say that you have that rock, if you go to another park, you can get another rock. Like remember when I said all I saw, my first appreciation was, oh, Zion, I think is a good view. Uh, they're all rocks, but they have different types of rock.
Yeah.
Everybody have, I think we went to Zion, we went to Bryce, we went to what
Canyonlands,
Canyonlands,
arches,
the arches is where I was
yeah,
jumping up and down. Yeah.
and
So it
Capitol
was,
Reef is the last one.
yeah, yeah. And we kept, it's a journey. You drive, you finish one. So I think my wife knew that all these were rocks, but I did not know. Like it's a journey when you are just experiencing and not knowing what is next. Sometimes it's good, but you have to have a vision for what is next, but you don't need to know exactly what it is yet. Is it yet because it's an experience that you come up to. I wanted to say, I came up with this quote, this question in honor of like Valentine's Day. Actually, no, before I say this, I think Martin Luther King in honor of Black History Month, Martin Luther King has a quote about a staircase. Look at the step right in front of, like, you have a big staircase. You know that you have to go up this big staircase, but you look at the staircase in front of you and you step and you step and you step and you step until you reach to the top. So there's a quote specific to that. I can send you that later. Other thing I
I love
wanted to
that.
mention is I mentioned this. What if the biggest obstacle to success is both uh, to in both leadership and love isn't lack of passion, but lack of vision. So I'll read that again. What if the biggest obstacle to success in both leadership and love isn't a lack of passion, but a lack of vision? And how I see the love there can be passion in what you do. It can be like this is about relationship, your relationship with the things that matters to you most. And the way I see how this connects to yours about waking up every day and becoming optimistically. Can you help me finish the sentence?
Yes,
Op
optimistically perform each day.
yeah. And waking up every day and optimistically perform each day. That mindset is you have to have a vision of that. Like you have a mountain, you have to have a vision that you have to get to the top. You have the next mountain, you have to have a vision that you're going to get to the top. So that's what I was trying to convey in this quote. And your visual representation of your personal brand symbol is powerful. I think we covered a lot of topics. Yeah, and I like I met you. I just met you probably 3 weeks ago officially.
Yep.
And and yeah, we started. I like the group that we are both in and meeting at the accelerator event last time. And by chance, we ended up being paired to have the same dinner table. And I was happy to find out about the problem that you solve is complacency and how it connected to the problem that I solve, invisibility. And actually I talk about complacency, but I don't go deeper into complacency like you do. It's just interesting how you kept peeling the onion about the complacency and how uh, you can help people come out of the trap of complacency to becoming a top performer. So I think that was a powerful message. What's one big behavior you want to change in anybody feeling this way? What's one big behavior out of your pillars? You have like optimism up to focus. Out of those ones, I know each pillar is important and you want to change them through each step as you go through. But what's one main, if there was a sentence behavior or like a sentence you could just tell them and it will make them feel like it's something they have to change? What is that one thing? Can you
Oh.
think of one?
Yeah. And this was a this was a lesson that I learned from a dear friend of mine when his wife, they were in their 50s, but when his wife was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and was told, we have less than a year to live, ultimately. And they were the happiest couple the entire year. They were so optimistic. They just served. They loved. They cared for so many people. And I asked him, I said, Scott, what's your secret? You guys are going through the hardest thing an individual can go on in this life. All of these cancer treatments, knowing you're going to pass away. You still have kids at home. How are you so optimistic? He said, Tyler, we know what's going to happen. And so we can choose to be miserable or we can choose to be happy. So every day we choose to be happy. And that's where
Mm,
I derived this quote where I say that you're either consciously choosing to be optimistic or you're unconsciously being pessimistic. Consciously choosing to be optimistic or you are unconsciously being pessimistic.
mm, powerful. So basically, to what you want people to take away from that is to make a decision between the conscious decision and the subconscious decision, basically,
Yep.
and for them to be aware of that mindset so that they can make the right decision possible. And optimism. I know. Okay, I meant to ask you this earlier, but I lost my thoughts because there was other interesting topic we were talking about. Sometime people will say you are too optimistic, as if it's a bad thing,
Yep.
but you use it as a big positive and a way to create even a much bigger impact. What's your thoughts on that? People thinking you are too optimistic, or you are too ambitious, or you are too this. I don't know if this has come up in your discussions.
Yes. You have to remember that optimism does not mean positive. It doesn't mean happy. Optimism means best. What is the best emotion you should be feeling? Is that best emotion vulnerability? Is that best emotion you should be feeling sadness? Is that best emotion you should be feeling is empathy?
Mm-hmm.
And as you experience those when they're appropriate, you're still being optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always trying to find the positive in each event. Sometimes you have to find the negative. Sometimes you have to find the sadness. Sometimes you have to find the trials.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to what my friend had said, he said we had to accept it was terminal.
Mm-hmm.
We had to accept that.
Yeah.
What optimism? Finding that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had to endure their suffering and know it was terminal and accept that in order to move past to those new emotions.
Yeah.
So it's okay to feel those other emotions. It's okay to feel those setbacks. It's okay to experience those.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
no, they don't define you and you
Mm-hmm.
don't stay in them.
Yeah. Yeah, Tyler. So I have two questions here. Quick ones is if you had to write a book, okay, if you had to write a book and to your perfect um target audience that could benefit from, what will this book title be?
Yes. So the book title that I've really actually thought a lot about, that I have in mind
Mm-hmm.
is um, the top performance formula.
Mm-hmm.
Four secrets to a top performing sales culture would be kind of that subheading.
Powerful, yeah. And just from the book alone, they will immediately from the title alone, they will immediately like relate to it. And it's something of value that they will read into. The second question I had in relation to that is for a sales trainer or for a professional that wants to go through your methodology, your different pillars and the different models. What should they expect? Like what kind of benefits or payoffs should they expect from going through your program?
Yeah. So what we help create within your culture, you're going to get more time. You're going to get more
Mm-hmm.
understanding. You're going to get more purpose. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to get more sales, of course, which everybody loves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you're going to create a culture that people want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Sales is what brings in business. but the culture is why they stay.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to create for you a culture. And culture, here's another of my nerdy, back to its words. Culture is the Latin word for care. So we're going to help you
Yeah.
care for your client. We're going to help you care for your employees. We're going to help you care about the products you offer.
Mm-hmm. You know what else is unique about you, Tyler?
Yeah.
You found a way to relate these different simple regular words to a, I think you mentioned a different, is it a Latin word or whatever, different languages, and that creates more meaning to people when they listen. Because I just kept listening from what Optimus, and now care. So yeah, that's a great job there how you are able to connect this to better explain this into simple terms. So,
No,
that's good.
I love
Yeah,
words. And
yeah.
so that's the benefit. So as you go through our course, as you work with us, we're going to help you become a top performer in each of those three categories. That's your
Mm,
sales culture. Your sales
yeah.
culture includes your clients, includes your team members, it includes the products you offer. Everything is an experience.
Hmm.
And you have to implement those four pillars. You have to offer the best experiences. You need systems to follow for your employees through that sales process. You need to be able to articulate your power and your value. You need to have focus and numbers and strategic plans for your sales with your clients. You need those same things with your team members. You need cultural development. You need to focus on their value of self-worth. You need to articulate the value of each employee. They all have strengths, they all have weaknesses.
Hmm.
Help them with their strengths.
Yeah,
That's their power. You need systems for them to follow. You need to give them the best attention, right?
yeah.
Within your products, the same thing. You need to offer the best products, not just any product. Offer them the best product for their solution, even if it's not with your company. That's a hard one people have to
Yeah,
internalize.
yeah,
The product needs systems to follow. You need
yeah.
to be able to refine your products, right? Offer better
Hmm.
solutions. That's the power.
Yeah,
And you need to
yeah.
focus to know, who do these help? Who do they serve? What's the next step? What are things we're going to offer? What's the strategic vision of the company? So
Hmm.
putting those all together is what encompasses our sales culture platform. So that's what we're going to walk you through, is creating that.
Yeah. One other payoff that I know you didn't mention, but it comes across as you describe moving from each step and also going after the mountain. And when you reach the top, you have to keep holding up to the moment when you're about to fall, but you get back up and you realize that the journey is a loop. One thing that stands out from that is how to manage, take and manage risks with confidence. And that's one thing that most people are scared of, and it stops them from doing anything else. And you saw so much value in addressing this problem of complacency and becoming a top performer that you risk your own career so that you can teach people these same steps, these same pillars, these same different models that you described. And I want you to paint a picture for the people, a decision that you are to make so that you can benefit them at the highest level.
That
Is that clear?
was
Is that clear?
that was
Yeah.
a yes. What Felix is chatting about here is a conversation we had when we first met. But I had a choice to make when I was starting this company. I had a great high paying job um, with another company. My life was great. All right, I could have been complacent in that job, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I originally had thought I could do both. Okay, so in my position, I was a registered rep, so you have to get everything declared on a U4. So it was 10 months prior. I said, hey, this is what I want to do. Company signed off on it. And I was starting to solicit my first clients. And I got a call into home office with HR. And they looked at what I was actually doing and they said, stop what you're doing right now and you can continue to work with us. Or if you continue to pursue your business, it's an immediate termination.
Mm.
And so I had to make a decision. And so I told them, okay, I'll stop right now. Because I was in Iowa. I didn't want to get stranded there. I had to get back to Utah somehow.
Hmm.
And then it was a few days later, my wife and we made that decision and called them and said, hey, we're going to pursue this business in our dream because I
Hmm.
wanted to be able to offer this to others, right?
Yeah.
Losing
Hmm.
that salary, my wife and I have endured difficulties, right, over these last months starting this, right? I was the
Hmm.
sole provider of the family,
Hmm.
jumping into a whole different ballgame where
Yeah.
our original
Yeah.
plan was we could do this both
Yeah.
until it replaces income.
Hmm.
But I learned the value of what it means to be all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where that true growth and progression happens. Is when
Yeah.
you take that step, you become committed to who you are, to what you want to do. And the
Yes.
more you have invested into something, the least likely you are to have it fail.
Yeah. Tyler, that's why you are the right messenger for this. And your uniqueness is going to shine as you keep teaching people in this area. So yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. What message do you have for the people listening to this today?
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, we have a free course that you can actually sign up for. It's on our website, Tyler J. Jensen. It's right on the home screen. There's a little button that says, "Hey, you get a free lesson course," and it's our proprietary method to help you increase your focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes over our STAR goal setting format. It stands for
Mm-hmm.
STAR. It's a new way of thinking about goals that's going to see more success in your goal setting and not
And it's free.
complacency. And
It's
it's
free.
free. Yep.
So much
Yep.
value. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
find out my website, tylerjjensen.com, and you can follow us on YouTube as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tyler. And I'm going to check out your website, and I know you showed me some of your systems. It was good to see how you solve the complacency chaos or the problem that people go through. And I like all your personal stories from the movie analogy to the steps exercise and to the picture that you just showed about climbing all the way to the top. And you only have almost like a thread to hang on, and you have to maintain the highest, the maximum focus you can to be able to finish the loop, not just after you get to the top. So I think that was powerful. And I think anybody watching this, it's going to benefit greatly from this.
Get on the trail.
Get on the
Go out
trail.
there and get on the trail.
And go for a national park to in Utah. You won't be disappointed to see many rocks, different types of rocks. So yeah.
Love it.
Okay.